You're listening to Three's a Crowd, the North East Footy Podcast, with Rye for Borough, Steve for Newcastle United, and Ted for Sunderland.
Did you just bring us on in order?
I did. How good was that?
Smooth.
Yeah, we've gone so professional for the new year. Look at us. Here, look at that. My God, the man on the wheel.
You can only get worse.
Welcome to the Northeast Football Podcast, the podcast where we talk about nothing but the Northeast football teams, Newcastle, Middlesbrough and Sunderland. I am Rye for Middlesbrough. I have got Ted the Mackham, obviously covering Sunderland, and the beautiful Steve Wraith next to me, covering all things Newcastle. Lads, fifth and fourth to start 2025. Who could have thought that? Newcastle in fifth, Middlesbrough in fifth, Sunderland in fourth. Can you believe it? What a time to be a Northeast football fan as we head into 2025, as we dare to dream, lads, as we dare to dream. Couple of big results for both Middlesbrough and Newcastle yesterday that we're going to cover. Sunderland yet to play. They have Pompey today. So we're going to cover that with Teddy Boy. Plus, we're going to get into some New Year's resolutions, and we're going to talk about your Christmases and everything in between, lads. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning around from. Make sure you look at the subscribe button and liking the stream. It really does help the Northeast Football Podcast grow. You can find us on our socials at Invictus or at Ted the Mackham or at NUFC Matters or Steve Wraith, and give the lads a follow. Let us know your New Year's resolutions. Let's kick it off. 2025. I'm going to come to you, Teddy Boy. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, you beautiful stud muffin. It's good to be back with you in the middle of you two. I've always loved being the jam in between the bread of you two. I wanted to, let's kick things off with the New Year's resolutions, mate. What's the plans for 2025, Teddy Boy? What's on the radar this year?
I'm fat.
Sorry, the bread comment wasn't like.
I'm fat. I'm officially fat. Really.
Ted.
I knew I'd put a little bit on, and you know me. You know I love to cook. So yeah, I've made quite a few things. I've even made chicken liver pate over Christmas as well, which is like it's as much butter as it is chicken. So it's just incredible stuff. So I hopped on the scales, and I didn't hop on because, to be honest, I would have went through into the first floor flat. 18 stone 5. So I'm going to do something about that first and foremost. I'm far too heavy. I'm having to shop in a special section of Shein at this moment in time, which I'm not enjoying. Other websites are available, of course. So first thing is weight loss. The next thing, not so much a resolution. I would try and change my personality, but that's not happening.
Good luck.
Sorry. I'm going to do a bit more on the digital front and do a little bit of casting. I've already did a couple of bits of attempts to get some footage of me being an appallingly bad gamer. I'm a middle-aged. What have I called it? Below average gaming for normal people is what the channel's going to be about.
Nice.
So just basically me losing my temper, getting my ass kicked by teenagers on FIFA and Call of Duty. So what can possibly go wrong with that?
I don't know.
Other than that, it's nice to be back with you lads. It's been a miss.
It has been a miss. We are looking to go live either Saturday or Sunday this year, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, around that 9:30, 10:30. We try and move around. Obviously, we've all got busy schedules, but we also try and move around the football as well with the earlier kickoffs and later kickoffs and stuff like that. So do look out for us each weekend, Saturday or Sunday. And again, if you want to know what time we're starting that week, just shoot one of us a message and we can let you know as well. Stevie Wraith, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good sir. Mate, 2025 off to a raring hot start for Newcastle, mate. But you personally, let's start off New Year's resolutions for this year, sir. I mean, last year was the poetry, which you absolutely killed it. It was absolutely incredible that some of the poetry you wrote last year. What's on the plans for this year?
I'm going to keep the poetry going. I did do the play, writing the play last year, so that's definitely going to be finished not long. You can't rush it. It's got to be done properly. But New Year's resolution this year was a very simple one. Listen to a new album a day.
Ooh. Ooh.
Love
So
that.
it's
Okay.
and people have really come out with some absolute classics. I mean, obviously, since I've told people about it, I've been given some great suggestions. And listen, it's 45, 50 minutes on average, an album. So, you get the opportunity when you're out for a walk or if you're sitting in a house and doing something and, you listen to one. So I started with Bob Dylan. His first album, I'd never listened to it all the way through. Bob Dylan, and it's simply called Bob Dylan. And I then followed that up with something a bit more modern, Harry Styles. His first album, Harry Styles. Bit of a theme going on. These first albums just named after the actual artists themselves. But I quite enjoyed that. I didn't think I was going to enjoy it. I've got to be perfectly honest, but I did. I then went for day 3. I went for Michael Chapman, which is called Fully Qualified Survivor. Some really good tracks on there. That was made in the 1970s. And I followed it up with another 70s album, Yesterday, by a guy who used to be in the Monkees, Mike Nesmith.
Yeah.
Hey, where the monkeys?
The one.
Monkey around.
He did an album with his band called The First National Band, and it's called Nevada Fighter. So I listened to that. So today, I'm almost through a one that David Stanier suggested from the Long Sands, which is by very country and western vibe, called Stephen Wilson Jr. is the guy, and he's titled it Son of Dad. I've got to be honest, country and western is not really my thing, but when I got to the last part of the album, I've got over 4 tracks to go. He did a song called Father Son, a song called Grief Is Only Love, and a song called Hang In There, obviously about the death of his dad, and obviously the album is called Son of Dad. Well worth listening to those 3 songs.
Wow.
Even if that's the only 3 songs you listen to on the album, the rest of it's all a bit knee slapping and yeehaw. But oh yeah, definitely. But those 3 songs are great. So that's my New Year's resolution, and it's an achievable one. So
yeah, I love that.
It's an achievable one, so I might even just tag you lads in it because I know you both like your music.
Oh,
yeah,
so
definitely.
that's one of those things I could probably suggest those albums. You can go off and listen to them, and you might think, "Oh, Steve, what about this?" But the only remit is I can't have listened to it. So if it's an album,
okay,
if it's an album that I've listened to, then I'm going to have to say no. But there's millions of artists and singers and whatever. So I'm thoroughly enjoying it so far.
Bender's got a new one out next month, hasn't he?
He has,
The new album comes out February.
Yeah, so it's interesting, and that's interesting to hear you say that because I've seen him getting some pelters.
Oh no,
really?
Because of the Newcastle connection,
I couldn't go to a live concert obviously because he wants everyone to dress in black and white, so that's like too far. I don't love him that much.
But that's it. It's as simple as that for me.
Yeah. There you go.
Simple as that for me, and obviously just to have, for everybody around us to have health and happiness. Really, that's
I love that.
Those are the 2 things that you want. You know what I mean? And as long as we've got our health and our happiness, then we don't really need much else, lads.
Absolutely.
No, I love that. Well, mine's health as well. Obviously, we had a bit of a rough year last year with my wife's health and everything like that. So we want to just have a healthy year. But I'm starting off the year by moving. Michael Carrick, obviously the gaffer at the moment, has got the Michael Carrick Foundation. He's got the current thing going on where it's 5 kilometers a day through January. So I've jumped on board that. So you can do any 5 kilometers your way. You can get on the rower, the treadmill, walk, ride, whatever it is. You can't jump in your car and drive 5 kilometers, obviously, but you got to move 5 kilometers each day for the month of January. So we're jumping on board with that to kick things off for 2025 down here. But also, the biggest one for me is getting over to the beautiful northeast of England. I need to get back to Middlesbrough this year and see all the lovely people of Middlesbrough, see a game or 2, catch up, kiss you on the forehead, Steve, and fly past Ted, and jump out there. So the plan is I need to get back on a plane and get back over. That is the ultimate goal. If I can get back across the pond sometime this year, I'll just be a happy man. Hopefully to see the Borough in the playoffs or something like that. But let's talk football because we've had enough chit chat. Obviously, it is the Northeast Footy podcast. Let's start things off with Newcastle getting a big win yesterday over Ange Postecoglou, the man from my own backyard, the Aussie manager, who seems to be a little bit angry at the moment. Obviously, Spurs calling in sick yesterday. It almost looked like Ange was going to play in goal, but they did field a strong team in the end, not to surprise anyone. But then obviously Newcastle coming up the trump, Steve, in a good 2-1 win. I actually watched the game. It was the early kickoff for those that missed it. Spurs looked lively at the start, but then dropped off. And then obviously Anthony Gordon and Isak, who just is honestly the most informed striker in the world at the moment. I can't name another one. It was interesting to see some of the lads go through and say their Premier League team of 2024, including Chris Wood as their striker. Gary Neville, I'm looking at you, without even mentioning Isak. I mean, he's an unsung hero by all accounts, Steve. But I tell you what Isak doing and what Newcastle are doing, it must give you some sort of dare to dream aspects for this year now.
I think my tweet last night summed it up, and I don't think it would have been wasted on Ted saying it as well. That's my kind of 6 in a row. Six Premier League wins for Newcastle.
Although which one I'd rather
have. But you know what? What a turnaround! And as you know, we do this show together. I hadn't turned on Eddie. I said Eddie was, he would come through it. He's done it before, and he'll do it again. But since that Brentford defeat, which it wasn't a hammer, and Newcastle, scored 2 goals. Isak and Barnes scored, in a 4-2 defeat. But since then, Leicester at home 4-0, Brentford in the Carabao Cup 3-1. Ipswich away 4-0, potential banana skin. Ipswich hadn't won; they went on to win the following home game. Aston Villa at home, a European rival, dispatched 3-0. Manchester United, where Newcastle had only won previously once in the Premier League, twice in the last 50 years we've won at Old Trafford. Comprehensively defeated them 2-0. Could have been 5 or 6. It was embarrassing that. And then to go to Spurs yesterday with a big problem to solve. Fabian Schär, who's been really impressive, suspended yesterday. Botman coming in after being
Botman
out for so long, and Botman come in and his stats were ridiculous. So it was as if he'd never been away. And a 2-1 win. It was a bit more nervy than you would hope. Spurs were missing a lot of players. Ange obviously had his reasons, I guess, for keeping Son and Maddison, etc., on the bench. Was it the trip to the darts that upset him? When he was supposed to be ill, who knows? But Newcastle went about it professionally again. And it's a pleasure to see them when they get an advantage. That they are, they're keeping their, they're screwing their loaves on. There's a little bit. There's a little bit of, shithousery, but there's also a little bit of game management, and running the clock down at the end was important. And I think, it was a professional win. Yes, Isak gets the headlines because of the goal, 7 goals in 7 games, equaling Joe Willock and Alan Shearer's, best ever run. Anthony Gordon again back on the score sheet, his goal tally's mounting up, but it was some of the unsung heroes again. Tonali and that little switch that Eddie Howe made 5 or 6 games ago, allowing him to be the number 6 and Bruno to push on further. It's worked, and it's a simple adjustment. Bringing Murphy in on the right hand side has been a positive in that formation, because his assists have been superb as well. So it's positive, and Dubravka's had not a great deal to do. And I guess the big question mark surrounding X last night was Dubravka. It looks as if he's going. That's a worry for me in a lot of ways, because Dubravka has been a positive influence in that back row. Nick Pope's on his way back. My big worry is it is a big if, because we've got a big ask. We've got to beat Arsenal in the semi-finals to get to the final of the Carabao Cup. But Dubravka and Pope have been the goalkeepers who've played in that competition, and if we get an injury to Nick Pope, I'm not sure what happens. Can we put another goalkeeper in the final? Maybe we can, maybe we can't. I'm not sure. And if we can, who's he going to put in? Because he doesn't seem to have any faith in the goalkeepers that we've got on the bench. No. Odysseus and John Ruddy, for example. So lots of question marks over that. But look, getting away from it, positive performance, 3 points in the bag. Newcastle in 5th place, in and amongst the European riders. The treble's still on. My daft little bet is still there. 500 to 1 for Newcastle.
We're in January now, and that's starting to worry me a little bit.
It is. It's a tricky bet.
I remember a team that was 13 points behind Newcastle United, who were top of the league. and went on. Manchester United went on to win the league. Newcastle are the same amount of points behind Liverpool. Never say never.
Wow. No, what honestly, Eddie's got them believing down up in Newcastle again. It's incredible what the turnaround. I mean, we were sitting here some podcasts ago, both looking into maybe Eddie leaving. What was the possibilities of all that? We heard it was nothing but just we had the Dan Ashworth and everything like that, but now look where Newcastle are. It's incredible. And I think obviously January is only going to strengthen Newcastle as well with some big incomings. You would think maybe they got to get a few off their books like the Borough do as well. But Teddy boy, you said it there as well, mate, in the chat. You watched the game as well, mate. Ange didn't have the strongest team to come out with, but he did manage to find a decent team, I thought, still out there. Solanke getting the first goal.
Themselves. Yeah. I mean, they put the pressure on certainly in the second half, I thought.
Yeah, no, and I thought they were, it was a young, hungry team, and a team like Spurs should have the depth. They're not, they've got riches. They're not a poor club by any means. And at Tottenham, you should have the depth to be able to cover these types of games and types of injuries. So it was interesting to see. You were saying there, thought Dan Burn lucky to stay on the pitch. For me, I thought Botman's return was incredible. Well, he was tested. He was tested, the young striker, Solanke, running into Botman a few times, knocking him over. But Botman got back up and proved his worth coming back after such a long layoff. But what'd you make of the game, mate? And how secret of a Newcastle fan are you now that Chris Rigg's going?
Chris Rigg is not going to Newcastle. It's not going to happen. Let's just put that to bed right now. I know. Yeah, it's a different hand gesture I'm doing off the camera, mate. I was impressed. I thought a little bit fortuitous with the first goal. Certainly, it's more than a suspicion of handball in the build-up to it. But Gordon took his goal very, very well, I thought. In fact, he had a good game. Even got a bloody nose for his troubles as well, coming when he was coming off the pitch at the end. I just thought with the Dan Burn one, I thought the first yellow card was nailed on. Absolutely. There's no question for me, Steve, that it was a yellow card, the first one. There was the incident with the handball just after it, not long after it, where he's got to block him. He's had his hands out wide. It's clipped his arm, and you kind of think, I've seen yellows given for that because he's making himself big, which is what defenders do. But with the arms outstretched and it's almost like, crucifix position, you can't see him here. That's the glory of the internet. But there's a suspicion, and there was an argument that, and even the commentators picked up on this, it could have been a yellow card. And I think had he not already had a yellow, I think the referee would have went for it. I don't think the ref wanted to send him off for it. Just my interpretation of it. It's there's people who know the rules of the game a hell of a lot better than what I do. Other than that, that was the one that was like sort of that could have changed things because Spurs did ramp up the pressure after that. There's an argument there for it. However, hang on, Ted Rigg loves the black and white, and you'll take 5 million for it. Yeah, right. More chance of us decorating our bar in black and white. Oh.
Happened before.
Happy anniversary.
A year on, can you believe it?
It's the performance for me was like Steve said. I thought it was very professional. It was one of those that could have gone either way in the end, but they see the job out, and that's what they're doing with a lot of these games.
Yeah,
Aston Villa could be seen as a banana skin. All right, there's a red card. Burn does touch the ball with his arm. Come on, there's no defending him. Excuse me. I thought it was a very professional performance, and the seeing teams off around them. And that's the biggest thing. And that's why, I'm starting to believe, Steve, in that it will be a top 4 finish because they are beating the teams around them.
Yeah.
And that's all you can do. We're in a similar sort of position at this moment in time. We've had good results against the teams above us and one against one of the teams further down below us that we play against in January. Isn't that right, Rye? But look, I was impressed. I think Isaac is in fantastic form. I don't think he'll go anywhere in January. No. I think that Newcastle will pretty much keep the nucleus of that team together. I think they are 2 or 3 players from being a real pain in the backside for Liverpool for next season. I really do. It kills me to say that, but they're a very, very good team. I think there's a couple of injury-prone players that you may need to either manage out or manage more carefully and sort of replace them with people who are a bit more consistent in terms of being able to show up, Steve. But I think other than that, I think you're in a very, very healthy position. And like I say, 2 or 3 players from being a major
healthy.
Premier League forward.
Craig makes a really good point there, by the way. 12 minutes added on. No penalty for Gordon. Burn thrown over in the goal mouth. No yellow for Solanke. Kicking Dubravka. Get your eyes tested. Hits his chest. I mean, it's
big's his chest? Is it on his elbow?
It's from Brighton, man. It's huge. It's one of them. It's one of them to open to interpretation, and we see this. The rule book comes out time and time again, and these things happen. And at the end of the day, VAR didn't rule it a handball. So from our perspective, we just take it. And those goal, the goal that we, the goal opportunities that Spurs had that they didn't take. When you looks down, they fly into the top corner. And you concede a goal at the minute. Newcastle's playing well, but they're getting a bit of luck as well, and that's what you need sometimes. You know what I mean? And I think I think we will finish in the European places, 100%. My prediction is
3 points from third.
My prediction was third at the start of the season, and to win the FA Cup. That was my prediction. So, we'll see. We'll see. Not getting carried away. It's easy to get carried away as a North East football fan. But, we're next games. Obviously, I'll be at Arsenal on Tuesday for the Carabao Cup. That's a lovely added bonus. Yeah. And that's the cup that Newcastle have to focus on to win. Yeah. It's an achievable goal. It's going to be tough. But, if you're going to win a trophy, you've got to beat Arsenal. You've got to beat maybe Liverpool. But our next 3 league games, Bournemouth at home, Wolves at home, Southampton away. The fixture list is kind to Newcastle, and they've found a way of beating teams. Shaw will be back for those league games as well. Botman, if he manages to stay fit, we've suddenly got problems at the back because we've got all the good defenders fit. Pope will be back as well. Your first choice keeper. It's interesting times. Yes, and all of these teams above us have got European football still.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. No, it's incredible. And obviously it's dare to dream, like we said, start of the segment for Newcastle at the moment. Obviously, Carabao Cup, 3 points from third. It's dare to dream. As much it is down in Borough and the Championship with Sunderland to play today. Middlesbrough having a tough old draw with Cardiff City at the Riverside yesterday. Middlesbrough had a great midweek victory over Hull. And was a great last-minute winner that got us believing again that 2025 could be our year. But again, Middlesbrough ended up being frustrated yesterday at the Riverside. We talk about refereeing decisions. Well, lads, I cannot remember the most appalling refereed game than I have ever seen than I saw yesterday at Middlesbrough versus Cardiff. I mean, it was the most disgustingly refereed performance I've ever seen, and both Cardiff fans and Middlesbrough fans saying the same thing. There was both free kicks going either way that they should have paid, yellow cards, linesman giving offsides when there was no offsides. The linesman even put his flag up to a player that he thought was offside, and there was no Cardiff player anywhere near it. It was a full back line of Middlesbrough players, and he thought there was a Cardiff player offside. There was no Cardiff player even there. So I mean, what's happening in the Championship is incredible. We spoke about this on the podcast in recent times about the chances of VAR coming to the Championship. Well, it needs to happen in my eyes because the refereeing performances are just getting worse and worse, and we are seeing much more human errors than we have ever before in the Championship, and it's starting to frustrate us because we could have had chances. We could have had goals that went in from offside positions that weren't offside and vice versa. So frustrating day for the afternoon, but Middlesbrough remain in 5th in the table. But the big talk for Middlesbrough, which doesn't seem to go away, is the outgoings. Ben Doak, our loanee from Liverpool, our 19-year-old Scottish winger, has been subjected to 2 bids, one from Leicester City and one from Ipswich, and also, 3 bids, one from Crystal Palace as well. Crystal Palace coming in first, trying to test the waters of Liverpool. Liverpool saying that they don't want to sell Ben Doak. They want to hold on to him. They see him as a Salah replacement. Salah coming out and doing a report just recently saying that this is his last season at Liverpool, that he will be moving on. So is Ben Doak the next next Salah replacement. They don't know. They have got high hopes for him, though. So they're saying 30 to 35 mil to even tempt them to even look at it. Middlesbrough obviously having to watch this space. That's nothing we can do. We're not pulling out 30 million unless Ted, comes in and buys us. But we've got to sit there and wait and see if Liverpool are going to do the dealings. If Liverpool want to deal and want to sell on Ben Doak to 3 or 4 of the Premier League teams that have already shown interest, then there's nothing Middlesbrough can do. We lose our star winger, who assisted Latte Lath, our second person who is coming under scrutiny as well for transfer speculation. His player agent, doing selfies with his phone. Some of these ones on social media. He's out the front of bloody West Ham training ground going, look where I am, West Ham training ground. He's the only player he's got to manage, by the way, Latte Lath. So what's he doing at West Ham's training ground? What's he doing at Ipswich training ground? It's just frustrating when you've got a player agent doing those ones. I said this, and a lot of people in the Middlesbrough Twitter sphere, social media, are very angry with Latte Lath's agent because he does all the talking. He talks the talk. Latte doesn't say much, but a player agent doing his job. Now, I'm not angry at him being a player agent, as much you guys would be if Isak's agent came out and said something. Their job is to find the best contract, the best money, you would say, for their player. That's their job. I have no qualms with that. But when a player's agent is out here taking social media photos, we can do without that. I feel like the selfie in front of West Ham, the selfie in front of the Ipswich training ground doesn't need to happen. And we know you're looking. Yes, we get that we're not top of the food chain at the Borough. In the Championship, we've got to expect that, but we could do without that sort of speculation, especially. So it is time to wait for Borough. We have got 25 players on the books. The max players you can have in the Championship is 25 players, so we can't bring anyone in without anyone going out. So it would be, you would think, 1 out, 1 in maybe for Middlesbrough, but January will be a testing period for that. Result-wise, look, we keep digging in. We're not losing. We're doing, we're not turning them into wins, but we're drawing, and that's the big thing. Is that we're not taking 3 points, at least we're taking a point. Good solid point against Cardiff, but a team we should be beating. A good win against Hull City to start our 2025. It's got us sitting in 5th. The Mackham's gap is glowing a little bit quicker than we would like, but we've got to close that down. Look, we've got to stay within touch with that top 6. We know, as Ted will talk about when we come to Sunderland as well, Leeds, Burnley, they're up there for a reason. Sheffield United as well, Sunderland did us a good, handy job beating Sheffield United as well and Chris Wilder's men. We've got to stay in touch with that mob if we want to have any chance of going up in autos. But I'd say at the moment, playoffs is the more realistic goal for Borough fans. But let us know in the chat if you're a Borough fan what you're thinking. It's interesting for Borough at the moment. We're the team that's most likely out of Newcastle and Sunderland, out of the 3 Northeast teams, to potentially drop out of that playoff sort of, or that top 5 at the moment, because sometimes we just get those frustrating results and we can't put them away. We need a free kick specialist. That's what I need. If anyone asks me, and they keep asking me in the comments, I've seen it on Three's a Crowd, what does Middlesbrough need? We need someone that can take a free kick. My goodness, if we could get someone that could put the ball into the box correctly from a corner, from anywhere on the pitch, from a free kick, Shuey Downing I'm talking about back in the day, you got to have someone that can take a decent free kick. And at the moment, Middlesbrough is struggling without that. Middlesbrough have got a long way to go as well. We've got a few tough games coming up. Obviously, no cup games. We have got the next game in the FA Cup against Blackburn next Saturday. So we have a bit of a break from league football now, and Blackburn's going to be a tough test. But I would dare say Michael Carrick's going to use the youngsters there. We're going to talk more Middlesbrough. We're going to talk more Sunderland coming up right after this. We're also going to catch up more about that Newcastle and the form they're in. But right now, it's time for everyone's favourite. It's Troll of the Week.
Yes, Troll of the Week. Jules is in the chat as well. She loves that video.
Morning, Jules.
Morning, Jules. Now, I'm going to have to use these up. We didn't do a show last week.
No.
We've had Christmas, and Pep and Manchester City were really struggling. So this was a great one that Paddy Power did. PE teacher jobs in Manchester. I think he's still looking. And this one, Haaland, since telling Arteta to stay humble, from Paddy Power as well. And another one from them, breaking news, the Premier League have called off their legal case against Manchester City as Guardiola's side will get themselves relegated anyway. Yes, they were really firing at all cylinders. This one from Football Tweet was brilliant. Name these legends. Seb's replied, Lionel Richie and Tina Turner.
Dear me, Valderrama's not aged well, like, has he?
No,
he definitely hasn't.
no.
And somebody shared me this. I mean, talk about lookalikes, lads. When your sun signs for Wolves in the morning, but you've got to meet Starkey and Hutch with some info at 1 o'clock.
Wow.
Yep.
And I think we've all been
That's an outfit, that.
That is bright.
I think we've all been here on an away game. When you get the driver to stop at the services on an away day. But the winner, as we beat Manchester United this week, this had to be the winner, lads. It's an absolute belter, and it's a visual troll of the week. Somebody who's taken a lot of time and effort into trolling not just one person, but thousands of people around the world. When Saturday Come shared it, many Manchester United fans were apparently left disappointed at Christmas yesterday after opening limited edition gift sets sold by the club. The sets included a 2025 calendar featuring legends like Roy Keane, a Manchester United diary, a club branded pen, and a certificate of authenticity to complete the collection. However, upon opening the 2025 diary, fans were stunned to find it covered with "You'll Never Walk Alone" slogan, along with Liverpool legends and branding throughout. This left many fans annoyed, saying Manchester United does just keep hitting new lows. That is the biggest. So the guy who makes it is obviously a big Liverpool fan. And thought he'd have a laugh.
Them all up.
Chucking that in. So, if you see any, send your trolls of the week to me at NUFC Matters.
Our commercial director left Sunderland, and I don't know whether he started a new job elsewhere. Like, put the branding of rival teams in their own stadium and their own produce. Could be.
Send the news on X anyway, at Steve Wraith, at Ted the Macklemore, at Invictus, and we will feature them on the show next week so we can play Jules' favourite little montage.
Welcome back.
400 watch ride, by the way.
400. Big shout out.
Fantastic.
Thank you for tuning in. We obviously are the Northeast Footy Show podcast. We absolutely love the Northeast Footy. Us three merry men get together once a week and we talk Sunderland, Newcastle, and Middlesbrough and everything in between. And we love having you with us. So make sure you hit the like button, consider subscribing, checking out the lads next to me and my channel as well. We work together. We have down now for almost a year and a bit now, lads. It's over a year now, I think. So it's, look, we don't get sick of each other as much as they, I push their buttons. You know what I mean? They love my buttons. Do you know what I mean? So it's just love.
I didn't speak for us all. Yeah.
We had a few comments in the chat about the Middlesbrough chat we were talking about, and I just want to answer a few questions before we get on to Sunderland, who play today. They've got Portsmouth later on today, and we're watching them eagerly, our Borough fans, because the gap could open up a little bit. Tufnell says, don't forget we can buy as many players as we want, but we can only register 25. It's a good point, Tufnell. I think players will drop in and out of registration, so that's a very good point. It doesn't stop Middlesbrough buying, but we do have a 25 registration, and that's currently full. So someone would have to drop off the registered playing list to come in to play for Middlesbrough. You would think that as well. Big Nige, who said an agent's job is to find the best deal for the player that maximizes their fees and slices the deal. It's parasites. Very, very true, Big Nige as well. Look, it's incredible to see as well. And then another question was, where do you think Middlesbrough are going to finish? If we don't manage top 6, does it mean Carrick has failed and his time will be up? Great question as well. Where do I think Borough are going to finish? I think where we are around about now, in that 5th spot, I think is probably where we're comfortable at the moment. I think the gap is going to stay there or thereabouts for Sunderland. Look, there could be a team above them in Sheffield United that would drop off. Leeds starting to drop a little bit as well. They had a shocking draw against Hull yesterday as well. So, look, there could be a chance for one of those teams to drop off. But I think where we are about now, because it's up to Middlesbrough, and unfortunately we can't turn those frustrating draws that we saw yesterday, Stephen, against Cardiff into wins, and we need to do that. Good teams do that. We find a way to find 3 points. So somewhere there or thereabouts. And I think, yes, you're absolutely right. If Middlesbrough don't make the playoffs this season, it's 100% failure. Carrick has been there long enough. He's now the longest serving manager in the championship. Michael Carrick, can you believe it? Longest serving manager in the championship. So look, we know it's a very, very tricky merry-go-round to be on as a football manager. And if you're not getting the results, you're not getting where the team wants to be, then unfortunately you're not there. So look, we need to unfortunately have probably a big look at if we don't make playoffs at Michael Carrick's contract. But at the moment, I still think he's the right man for the job to take Middlesbrough forward. And
what's happened to his face, right? Because
we don't know. It's a great question, mate. There is rumours now. Look, we're not one for rumours, all right? We're not one to start anything, but obviously there is a lot of talk around Seny Dieng at the moment at Middlesbrough, our number one goalkeeper. Seny Dieng was dropped to Salisbury now, under 21 goalkeeper, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, lads. Seny Dieng just has not had a good start to the season. He was dropped, placed to the bench. Obviously, he wasn't happy being the number one goalkeeper at the Borough to be dropped to the bench. He then went into the next couple of days of training, and then all of a sudden, Seny's nowhere to be seen. Now, the players that are injured have been sitting behind the players' box. They've been doing interviews. We saw Riley McGree when he was injured, Alex Bangura. They all sit behind the players' box when they're injured. No Seny Dieng whatsoever. Apparently, he's twisted his knee, and Michael Carrick won't give anything else. But in that week of our number one goalkeeper being dropped, Sol Bryn coming in, so Seny Dieng potentially getting upset, Michael Carrick has a graze on his face. Everyone's putting 2 and 2 together. You see where I'm going. I don't think it's ever gotten to that levels, but we haven't seen Seny Dieng since, and we did see Michael Carrick with a nasty graze on his right cheek as well. Don't forget though, Michael Carrick is doing 5 kilometers a day. He could have fallen off his bike, going for a run, whatever it is. He's a very fit man. He's doing stuff for charity, so something could have happened there, but it's up to fans to speculate. That's all they can do, isn't it, when they're on Twitter and social media? And the speculation is that maybe him and Seny Dieng came to blows. But we'll wait and see. Watch this space with our number one goalkeeper. There is a lot of ugly rumours around that toys were thrown out of the pram after being dropped. We'll wait and see. And that no one needs to. We need to see some resolution there, Borough fans. But let us know in the comments what you think might have happened. But not always good when your number one goalkeeper just goes AFK right at this time of the season. On to the Mackems, sadly now. We've got to talk Mackems. We've got Sunderland up and about. Regis Labrise is playing his absolute socks off. I mean, this bloke has come in and turned this club that finished, was it 17th, I think, last season in the end, or thereabouts last season at the end, Ted, to now into the magical position of 4th. I cannot believe it, mate. Everyone, including myself, waiting for that Sunderland to mess up, to drop away. It just doesn't happen. And you got to start believing as a Sunderland fan that it might be your season. Chris Rigg, obviously out injured at the moment, was rumoured to go to Newcastle. I started that rumour as well. We'll continue that one. Obviously, Bellingham playing his socks off. They've got players coming back from injuries. You've still got a wicked injury list there, Ted. You shared with us the other day the starting 11 of injured players, which would make any good starting 11 in the Championship. Yeah. Sunderland, much like much like Newcastle, are starting to dare to dream that this could be their season. Obviously, there's no cup fixtures. You've got FA Cup ties coming up now, but 4th in the Championship. Portsmouth today, who are in a lowly position of second to last in the Championship. You'd expect 3 points and a big potential year in 2025.
First of all, I don't think we should expect anything, to be honest. Like, this division is just absolutely balmy. I mean, the result yesterday, that you go down to Hull City, you plug away. To be honest, 1-0 flat at Hull. I watched the highlights of your game, and you absolutely battered them. Oh. And it was just a matter of time before you scored. But then, they go pull up an absolutely fabulous 3-3 draw against Leeds yesterday, which just makes the Championship that little bit more open again. The top 3 dropping points again. I made the point, and I messaged in our little WhatsApp chat yesterday, that you've got Newcastle playing in maroon and blue hoops in an Adidas shirt. You've got Middlesbrough managed by an ex-Manchester United captain. You've got Sunderland back in Hummel shirts, playing great football and leading the charge in the Championship. We've gone back to the mid to late 90s, and I'm absolutely loving it. We've got a position, like you said at the top of the show, 2 teams in 4th and 5th. And obviously Newcastle lead the charge in the Premier League as well. It's just incredible, and there's a buzz about the North East again, and it just feels like it's maybe we're just going to see. I would love to see Borough and Sunderland get back into the top flight as well. Leeds also as well, but just to see them get relegated with the lowest points total ever, I would really love to see that. But yeah, the injury list for us, we've kind of kept it quiet, but. I mean, this doesn't even include Poveda, who's, to be honest, he's made of cheese strings. He's injured again now. He's absolutely unbelievable. He made the bench twice and then got injured again. So I don't think we'll be seeing Pervader on the pitch ever in a Sunderland shirt now. But just to go through that, so we've obviously got Pervader there. We've got Niall Huggins, who's been out for a year, really serious injury he picked up. Jensen Seelt at centre-back, who again, another long-term injury absentee there. Great player who was signed from PSV. Dan Ballard still out injured. Dennis Sirkin missed the last game. We've got Samed, who's a Champions League quality central defensive midfielder. Played for the French club Lens in the Champions League last season before. And then you've got Rigg, who's out still. You've got Brown, Alan Brown, who's a vastly experienced guy to have on the pitch. Superb skipper-like qualities that he's got. You've got Mundell out, you've got Tommy Watson out, and you've got Abdullahi, who still hasn't played for us yet. So it's absolutely an incredible... We could field that wouldn't look out of place as a first 11 for Sunderland.
It wouldn't. No.
That's the scary thing that we're having to deal with right now. But Regis Lebris is just playing. I mean, so ballsy to go and play 4-4-2 against Sheffield United at home the last game out. Absolutely superb performance. And Mayenda and Isidore just absolutely tortured them. The Sheffield United centre-backs looked sick of their lives. And there was just, honestly, they really did. They absolutely tortured them. And to be honest, I think we're getting our rewards. You know, we went through that sticky patch where, like what you said, right? If you can't win the game, then let's not get beat. And we weren't getting beaten an awful lot. Yeah. So we're picking up points where we needed to. And all right, yeah, it was a sickener with last-minute goals. The one against Stoke City was an absolute stinker after we pretty much bossed the whole game. But 09's just had that little shaky spell, you know, gave away a penalty the other night and then also scored an own goal as well. So he's a little bit, it's heart-in-mouth time at this moment in time. But a game against Portsmouth is probably exactly what we need. We could go out and make a big statement today, and I would love to see that. You know, if we go out there and demolish them 3 or 4-0 today, I think we have to be taking serious contenders for a top 2 place, let alone just staying in the playoff positions. We've got every chance of doing that. Once we get players back as well, I would love to see it. Of course, it doesn't work like that. It's the Championship, so Portsmouth will probably come and park the bus, put 11 men behind the ball, and just make it very, very difficult to break down. For me, the great question there, about serious question, what a realistic transfer fee is for Bellingham. For Job, yes. Good, well done. Well done. I don't know, because if Jack Clark can go for 15 to 20, then Job is worth 30, 35. Yeah. It's got to be. If you're paying that money for Jack Clark, who is not, absolutely not, a Premier League player. And I'm going to make a prediction now for you, Rye. Latte Lath to Ipswich, Jack Clark going the other way. Because Doak will probably get recalled. Yeah. And that answers a problem. I think in Tommy Conway, you've got somebody who's a more natural striker than Latte Lath anyway. So I wouldn't be massively surprised to see Jack Clark in a Middlesbrough shirt. If not this season, then possibly next season, because he's not Premier League.
That would stir the hornet's nest. I love that. We did tickle Man United trying to get Ahmad last one.
He's a North Yorkshire lad. It's not too far from home for him. It ticks a lot of boxes for Middlesbrough that way. But getting back to the most important North East club in the Championship, I fully expect a win today. It's going to be a tough game. Portsmouth are starting to pick up form a little bit now. But I think we've got more than enough in the locker there.
I do too.
Somebody like Isidore who just doesn't score tap-ins, does he? He's just got to do something world-class every single time. I genuinely think he would be a handful in the Premier League. I think he's got great movement about him. So, let's give you a little prediction to start the year off, I suppose. I'm going to go for a nice and tasty 3-0 to Sunderland today.
3-0 to Sunderland. Wow. I'm going to go with a 2-0 to Sunderland. I just think
go for a draw.
I think Middlesbrough are going to. I think Portsmouth are going to come and park the bus, exactly like you said. I think Portsmouth want to stay in the Championship. That is their goal. Portsmouth are struggling at the moment, big time. We've got a loanee down there in Sammy Silvera who's getting booed by the fans down. He's not getting treated at all. There's been talks of the recall as well. Matt Ritchie at Portsmouth as well, for those Newcastle fans watching Matt Ritchie as well. They're just struggling at the moment. And I think Portsmouth are going to set up very, very much defensively. They have to against Sunderland. There's nothing you can do to try and take as much as you can. But I think Sunderland are going to be too good. I'm going to go a 2-0 win to Sunderland today. Stevie Wraith?
Interesting, isn't it? It is interesting. He's trying to manipulate my.
If anybody's wondering why I want Steve to say draw, it's because every time we go, all three of us go for a win. It curses the team. So please, Steve.
It definitely does. You know what? The Matt Ritchie thing's interesting. I don't think he played in the last game. I'm not sure whether he's available, whether he's been thought of today. Of course, you've got Josh Murphy as well, who's in there. There's another little connection there with Newcastle. Josh Murphy's a big Newcastle fan. It could be awkward. It could be an awkward banana skin game this for Sunderland. I mean, they did well to bounce back from defeat against Sheffield United with Lebris going for that 4-4-2, as you said. So, the table doesn't lie. Portsmouth are, battling relegation. I do, but without you trying to manipulate my prediction, I think this could be another draw. Sunderland have had too many draws this season, so I am going to go for a 1-1 draw in the conditions in the northeast.
Well, you're not wrong. I mean, those that want to know as well. I mean, there are talks at the moment currently still going away about Man United, Liverpool potentially being off today. That last check, the pitch was frozen, but they are talking about being able to get it unfrozen. The funny thing I saw was that there's 2 centimeters of snow currently at Anfield, which means Martinez at Man United is going to be 1 centimeter deep in snow. Is such as his height, which I thought was hilarious. But obviously the balmy conditions will continue. We've got to look ahead. We've now talked about Sunderland, Middlesbrough, Newcastle. We've got to look ahead at the biggest tie out of the 3 clubs this week. It is Newcastle versus Arsenal midweek in what is going to be an incredible match. I mean, Isak in form. I mean, you've got 2 of the heavyweights in the Premier League at the moment. You've drawn Arsenal away to start it off, Steve. I mean, talk to me, obviously, about how you're feeling going into it. I mean, the nerves, are there any? Do you think there's as good a chance as any? Do you think Arsenal are in good form, bad form? I mean, how are we looking? Newcastle taking on Arsenal at the Emirates come at midweek.
I'm not nervous at all. No, they slipped up again. Arsenal yesterday. They've lost Saka, which is a big blow to them. Although when we played Arsenal earlier this season, Lewis Hall had him in his back pocket. We've already beaten Arsenal this season. They're getting the jitters. They're having a run of poor form. By their standards, and they won't be fancying Newcastle coming down in the form that they're in. So I'm genuinely looking at this and saying, Newcastle can get something on Tuesday night. It's the away end as well. The 6,000 tickets are now sold out. Big travelling on a Tuesday night, but it is a semi-final, and Newcastle's track record in semi-finals is a lot better than it is in finals. We've got a good thing going on, and we've been to this stage in the competition recently, so it's not uncharted territory for us. We know what we've got to do. Isak's a man in form. Of course, the links with, which have predominantly been put out there by, podcasters who support Arsenal. There's no truth in those stories about Isak moving in January. So forget about it. It's an opportunity for him to get on the score sheet again. Botman is fit. It was cramped yesterday, which is great news. Fabian Shaw, of course, still is suspended for the bookings that he's sustained in the Carabao Cup competition, so he's still missing. And Bruno Guimaraes is missing. So there's a big change in the midfield. Newcastle's success in this game will depend on who fills Bruno Guimaraes' boots. Will he go for putting Tonali further forward and bringing Sean Longstaff in? Will he leave Tonali where he is and bring Joe Willock in to plug the gap that Bruno's leaving? the good thing about Newcastle United's squad this year, with not having as many injuries as we had last season, is that there's people who can come in and plug a gap and do a job. So yeah, I'm confident. Am I confident that we'll get a win? I think it'll be close. I'm going to go for another draw. I think Newcastle would have to do something special to win down there. It's not out of the question, of course, in the current form. But a draw at Arsenal would be sufficient for us to bring them back home and do the job in the second leg. So I will go for a score draw. I think Newcastle will probably score first. I think Arsenal will pull it back. But I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw on Tuesday night, which sets us nicely, puts us in the driving seat, I think, for coming back to St James's and hopefully getting through to the final.
Yeah, look, I was going to go for a 1-1 draw as well. I think that the last time, that Arsenal hadn't scored was Everton. Obviously, they kept to a 0-0 draw, but I mean, Arsenal seemingly finding a way, just even in their losses, to still be able to nick a goal in there. So I'm going for a 1-1. I think Newcastle are going to bring it to Arsenal. We saw, obviously, in the earlier fixtures of you getting the wood over Arsenal in what was a tough contest. Neither team sort of easy to break down. I think we're going to see something similar. It's just the trip, obviously. Obviously, Arsenal will have the backing, the solid away. I think Newcastle are going to be able to handle that. They've got the Champions League experience, of last season where they travelled. I think that's going to set them up perfectly just to go down to the Emirates and not let it phase them as much as other teams would probably get intimidated. And Arsenal, I don't think are an intimidating team right now. I really don't. I think any team going to Arsenal thinks they can probably get something, whether you're the Bournemouths, whether you're the Brightons yesterday. I think you can definitely look at Arsenal and find a way through Arteta's team. And I think at the moment, the way Eddie Howe's got the boys playing, you can get something here. But I think it will be toughly fought. Obviously, the cup will bring a little bit of nerves as well. I'm going for a 1-1 draw. Teddy boy, to start off the Carabao Cup, mate, how are we seeing Arsenal and Newcastle?
You're right. I don't think Arsenal are in terrific form at this moment in time. The huffing and puffing over teams who they really should be beaten a little bit more comfortably. And a lot of that, I think, hinges down. Obviously, Saka is such a talisman for them as well. He's a massive loss of player like that. Their form has got to change eventually, though. And I don't know. Hear me out on this one, Steve.
Yeah.
I think you'll lose the first leg, but I think you'll go through.
Okay.
I think getting the second leg at home is such a big thing for Newcastle. I can honestly see you maybe even putting a very, very convincing win together at home. I just think you might get edged out. A draw wouldn't be bad. A 1-0 defeat wouldn't be a bad thing. I firmly believe that you can turn it around and absolutely muller them at home. So I'm going to go 1-0 to Arsenal for the first leg, but figure not Geordies. And as much as it's sticking right there in my throat, I think you'll still go through.
Yeah, look, it's going to be a tough old game, and we're expecting Newcastle, obviously in the prime seat now, to bring some silverware back. I mean, what a chance it would be. Do you think the talk around Eddie's future and all that now is obviously you weren't, Steve, you were always in Eddie's corner, but do you think that's now gone quiet and thoroughly deservingly so?
It has, because Tuchel's in the England job, isn't he? So he's not getting linked with other clubs at this moment in time. And I genuinely think that Eddie is, he doesn't over celebrate success. When you go on a good run, and he doesn't. He certainly doesn't wallow in self pity when things aren't going right. He hits that kind of middle ground very well, and I think the fans, it's a minority on Twitter or X. It really is just a minority of people who wanted him out. And I think it's a positive that, we've all got people in our fan base, across the three clubs who can, just twist on 21. They'll never be happy. You could win every single game 5-0. They'd still find something to complain about. And that's just so for me.
I saw some Regis Lebris out after the Stoke defeat.
Really?
It was one. Don't get me wrong, but you've still got an idiot there who's going. I mean, Eddie Howe's done a fantastic job, Steve.
Yeah. And Bruce has done a good job at Sunderland.
He's those little dips in form that you have suffered, and what he managed to work with that last season with all those injuries, what he managed to work with in that It's testament to how good a coach he is. So for me, if people have been slating Eddie Howe up to this point, that's plastic fans for me. Like I don't like that at all. I think he's done a fantastic job and continues to do so, mate.
The big thing that we've got coming up now is the transfer window for everybody. You know, and as much as it annoys me, the transfer window, I think it should just be transfers all the way through the season. It can get a bit exciting, but I guess for us it is very different. You know, Sunderland and Borough desperately hoping that they can hold on to the players that they've got because they've got themselves into a decent position in the Championship. Newcastle, desperate in lots of ways to get rid of players, which sounds stupid, but we need players off the payroll, and we need maybe to get a bit of money in.
We'll take a Lewis Miley if we need him.
It's more Mickey Almiron, mate, I think, that we're trying to get rid of. You do all right in the Championship still, but it'll be interesting to see what happens because our incomings depend on our outgoings still, and the financial fair play thing is certainly being laid out, on this show many times. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I think I don't think we'll go big. I think we will sign one or two players. We'll sign another youngster this week. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens over the course of the next 6 or 7 months with transfers, with the winter and the summer transfer windows. Because Mitchell, who's come into that position, is now had time to get his feet under the table for Newcastle. That's going to be interesting. And it points back to what Ted said before about Newcastle having to find players who can, perform week in, week out at the highest level, and bringing new players in. It's that's going to be part of it. But we'll see. Well,
one final question just to wrap it up for the Northeast Footy Show podcast. We're almost out of time, but I have got one final question for the lads. Obviously, it is on that very point. It is now the January transfer window. It is the month where all three teams in the Championship and Premier League can make a signing. I'm going to ask the lads, and I want to let you guys out there as well get involved. Let us know in the comments of your respective YouTuber or who you want to see come in the club. But I'm going to ask the lads now, and they have to answer this. They need to let one player go and bring one player in. We're going to start with you, Teddy boy. One player out of Sunderland, one player in on the spot, mate. The club's come to you, mate.
If anybody thinks this is scripted, it certainly isn't, because I didn't know this was coming.
I need you. We don't know what to do here, mate. You play a lot of FIFA. We've obviously made some astute signings there, mate. One player out, one player in.
This is going to be controversial.
That's why I did it.
Yeah. Honestly, right now, I think I'd sell Patterson because we've got Matty Young who's on loan at Salford City, who's now kept something ridiculous like 7 clean sheets. He's going to be playing against Man City, very much in the shop window. Matty Young is the future of Sunderland in goal, without a doubt. So Patterson as an outgoing. And bring Matty Young back, which doesn't count as our player coming in because he's ours anyway. I think we need a central defensive midfielder. Now, where we get one from, whether there's somebody up and coming in Premier League terms, I haven't got a specific player for that. I just think Dan Neil is playing a hell of a lot better when he plays further forward. And I think he's much more of a threat there. So I think we need somebody, a Kevin Ball type, if you like, Steve, to roll the years back a little bit. A Kevin Ball type to sit in the middle of the park and dictate things and kick anything above grass level. I honestly think that is what we need right now. I think we just need somebody like that, a bit of steel.
Well, I'm going to go in the same direction for Middlesbrough. I'm going to say out for me is Seny Dieng. It sounds like it sounds like we've got a bloke that's had his toys out the pram. Unfortunately, he's been dropped. We've now got Sol Bryn out, who was selected to overtake Seny Dieng, out with a dislocated shoulder. Middlesbrough currently down to Tom Glover, our third string goalkeeper, and our academy goalkeeper in Connor. So we need a goalkeeper. For me, I think Seny Dieng has to go in this transfer window, and I think we bring in a goalkeeper. Which goalkeeper? I'm glad you asked. I'm going to have to go the Aussie Big Matty Ryan, who's still the number one for Socceroos. He's currently on his last 6 months of contract at FC20, I do believe. And look, I think if we can go and get the big Aussie, Michael Carrick has screamed that we need leaders on this pitch. Matty Ryan is the captain of the Australian Socceroos team. He's got the connections there. He's a good, solid goalkeeper. He's proved himself the Premier League as well when he was there in times with Brighton and I think Huddersfield as well. So I think Matty Ryan, if we could go and get him, would be an astute signing for Middlesbrough. So for me, in the goalkeeping department, it's one out in Seni Dieng, one in Matty Ryan. Steve, bring us home, mate. One out, one in at Newcastle.
One out, one in. Miguel Miron out. He's been a great servant. I would bring Alanga in from Forest.
Ooh, good signing. Well, we have been the Northeast Footy Show pod. You have been the amazing listeners and the love and support where we had over 500 watching at the very minute we were live. Thank you so much for the love and support. Happy New Year's to each and every one of you. It's a big 2025 for us here on the Northeast Footy Show pod. We're going to be doing a lot of things, so make sure you come in and check us out at Invictus, at Ted the Mackem, or at NUFC Matters or Steve Wraith. You can find us here every Saturday or Sunday, depending on the games, around that 9:30, 10:30. Again, if you want to know when we're starting, just shoot one of us a message and we'll be happy to let you know. It's a big happy New Year's for Newcastle, onto Arsenal in the Cup. We wish you all the best if you are travelling. Stay safe. Have a fantastic day out. For the Sunderland fans, you got Pompey today. Good luck to you. Middlesbrough, we've got a bit of a break. We can put our heels up. We have got Blackburn next weekend in the Cup, so have a bit of a respite and good luck to Sunderland and Newcastle in the respective games. We'll see you next weekend right here on the Northeast Footy Show podcast.
Three's a Crowd podcast will return. That's not a threat, it's a promise.